Hey, it's the 2nd of January 2010, and you're listening to an American in Ireland looking at Sunday papers in his back garden. I'm recording this on audioboo.fm stroke topgold using an iPod Touch. And apologies to you guys on the Touch land because you might not get good quality because the Touch is on the table and the papers are in front of me. And what's really in front of me is a photo from photoradar.com. It's an award-winning series of really good photography in the Sunday Times magazine. This is off Australia's Gold Coast, and the winning photo is called Exit Wave. My poor fingers are cold because I'm outside. I actually can't turn the cover. What it looks like when you're a gymnast and you're completing a move. Exit Wave. Really cool. Sunday Times. Essential stuff here, guys. The election in Ireland, maybe in late March. Stephen O'Brien has that front page story about it. And interesting sidebar that catches my attention. Many people know that no matter what the choices are in front of them, they're looking at austerity. And of course, the ruling government coalition would like to run the campaign out as long as possible so people understand that they're not going to get anything except austerity in the future. Builders are being blamed for burst pipes. Kira Kelly has a story. Inside our little front garden, we've got a main service pipe here. It's much lower than where it should be. In fact, our service line is only 60 millimeters deep, less than 2 inches deep. Kira points out that some of the drainage problem, the damage being done, would have been a non-issue if the pipes had been pushed down lower and built to standard. Here comes the new tech wave, writes Mark Paul. For you, Pat Phelan, Cubic Telecom's featured in this story. I put it under a category called digital. Cubic Telecom's identified as the Enterprise Ireland high potential startup. Under the Maxroom brand, they have a lot of products that I've bought. Ryanair is carrying the Maxroom easy data roaming SIM. And as Jeremy McQuaid points out, Maxroom's the second company in the world for the iPad. The noise you hear in the back garden is wind. It's a nice little breeze going. NAMA is a noise you would hear if you're listening to any radio station across Ireland. And that's a shame. NAMA's not a shame. It's a shame what NAMA's done. It's brought an era of totalitarianism unseen in Ireland to the forefront. Damien Kyrberg writes about this in his column called Irish Outlook. The NAMA Act might have been seen as being proportionate, as he points out in his article, but as a policy, it's had no big beneficial result, except perhaps to help for orderly recovery of bond capital for the profit-rich European banks. And without discussion, billions are being pushed into NAMA, into the bad banks, into the good banks. And the taxpayer can't even see what's happening because NAMA's outside the reach of the Freedom of Information Act. Another way of looking at this is pure totalitarianism, no way around it. The news review section of both the iPad edition and the print edition in Ireland deals about secret police wanting you to join Facebook. Evangeline Morozov has a book about it, and his point is there's a lot of things that you reveal about yourself by inference in places like Facebook, social networking, location-based services you share online. And maybe we don't know about that. Maybe we're not aware of that. That's a big deal. It's a privacy in Ireland have become Facebook promoters. They're also good tweeters, good bloggers. They're putting a lot of stuff out there that you can assimilate into a database of who you are by who you're around or what you're doing. The book called The Net Delusion is available January 13th, and you can order it online through the Sunday Times. I pointed out to Frank Fitzgibbon, who's the editor of the Sunday Times in Ireland, that paper, although it's a good one, Irish content can't be purchased with the iPad, just so you guys know. We use the iPad here. Sunday Business Post recommended. I think you should buy this if you're in Ireland today. Water pipe repairs are going to swallow up upgrade funds. Part of the meltdown, literally part of the meltdown of the Irish economy and part of a thaw in Ireland right now. John Burke and Nicola Cook explain that €300 million, which was set aside for capital investment, is going to have to be used just to repair the damages to the water network. I mean, that means potholes in the future. A lot of other problems, too. Can't be breached, says Brian Lenihan. Cliff Taylor gives it a front page story, points out that under the agreement, Ireland has to divert any additional tax revenues it may get in an upturn toward just paying down the deficit. So you can't actually put new taxes in and then use those taxes to boost new programs. That's a kind of totalitarianism, what do you think? The government paid €57 million for advice on Anglo-Irish, and this is being... Here's the story, though. Klaus Riegling, who knows his stuff, was basically paid €300 per page of information he gave back to the government. That's about the rate the professor gets anyway. Niamh Connolly has the story. The government paid €57 million for how to deal with Anglo-Irish. And you have to ask, are the people named, and are the agencies named, that led Ireland's banking policy into such a meltdown condition? Probably not. They just explain, hey, this happened. People happen to be sitting there with their hands on the switch. They're not necessarily named and shamed. They're given pensions and aided if they want to relocate, perhaps. But I'd like to know who is responsible, who made those decisions, wrong decisions that led Ireland down that path of busting the economy. Ireland's road devs are halved in 5 years. Hey, look, part of the good boom, Nicola Cook has the story, motorways save lives. That's been always the issue about why you build a motorway. And even though some motorways don't have a lot of traffic, hey, they're worth it that they save lives, aren't they? A lot of legacy of failure here behind the man Bertie Ahern. And these guys, Richard Curran, Niamh Connolly, Cliff Taylor, Jesus, they're really scathing. Well, they're incisive in how these past leaders of the country led it into disrepute, and now how they're walking into a comfortable retirement paid for by the Irish taxpayer. Cliff Taylor explains there's no way around the limits placed by the EU on the IMF bailout. And in another following story, Pat Leahy says that Fianna Fáil, as we know it, the Fianna Fáil party, since I've come to Ireland in '94, was very big and very dominant. Now, part of the result of the meltdown is Fianna Fáil is no longer a dominant Irish party. End of a chapter. Start of a chapter might be Etsy. It's Rob Kalin, founder of Etsy. It's a digital business where you deal directly with the artists. This whole page is content from Emma Kennedy, who explains designers can get to grips with Etsy and flog their stuff across the internet to export market. And what you see here, if you're watching on quick.com/topgold, is Ruth Crean. She's a common regular at Limerick's Milk Market. Good stuff. Good design stuff, now gone digital with it. Tuning in the swing votes, David McWilliams is in the side of this paper in the back towards the opinion section. You know what? He's trying to get another name for another characteristic of another person, another characteristic of a segment of Irish society. He's calling it Nova Man. You ever heard of him? Well, he spends 3/4 of the page talking about Nova Man and how this person using Nova FM on an online app can actually be the new vote, the new voter, the new sentiment of Irish voters. But hey, David, here's the deal. You know as well as I do that real reform means constitutional change, and that there has to be some kind of structure in place for that. So I don't give much hope to the hopes of Nova Man. I do give a lot of hope towards, well, digital enterprises in Ireland. This is a section of the Sunday Business Post dealing with the viewpoint of the future. They say, look, animation, they list here, Gary Timpson, they show here, the managing director of Cavalier Productions, showing that the way is up and forward. Part of the boom economy, the good boom of Ireland, was the fact that animation was funded pretty generously under Section 481 of the film tax scheme. The RTE funded a lot of it. Animation is on the upswing in Ireland. It took years from Ballyfermot to an Oscar-winning production to actually get on that world stage, but it's there and it's solid. Jonathan Forrest, who's the managing director of Cybercom, gets a bottom of the page article here about the digital viewpoint that he has with Cybercom, saying that the way of the future is two-way dialogue, engagement with consumers through a conversation. Here are some interesting tech predictions for 2011. Adrian Weckler makes those predictions. He's regurgitating some things that you could hear across the internet. So in fairness, he's pointing out that Android's going to be an OS, not just a world smartphone, eclipsing that, the iOS, but an OS. It's going to go into things beyond phones, tablets, devices perhaps. And he kind of mentions it here under Google evolving into a top technology company with Chrome. Android runs the OS for the smartphone. Chrome runs things like your dashboard on your car. Some other things I'd point out, I'd label this iPad, and he says the iPad 2 is coming out. Yeah, it is. Of course it is. I labeled the iPad as the invention of 2010. Net neutrality, important to know, lads, if you're running a mobile phone in Ireland right now, you're probably getting charged for port access to specific services, and that port access is net neutrality, or the bad side of net neutrality is wearing another piece of clothing. Nokia going to lose out on Symbian. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's going to have to go to another OS, something that's more touchscreen friendly, and alternative tablets will become available on the market. I have run out of time because my fingers are cold, and what I'm going to do is walk around this back garden and clean it up, because spring's almost here. Can't you hear it? You can see the result of my effort on flickr.com/photos/Irish Eyes. Read me on my blog. I live at insideview.ie. From Audioboo and Quick.com, it's Bernie Gobach. Looking at ladies in politics, saying bye for now.